Hello, my name is Randy Mankoto and I'm going to be looking at my blog in its mid-production phase. So here's what I've done up until the starting at the 8th of September. Here's my first the first thing I did was to look at AS from A2 and my journey to what I did in AS and how it's different from A2. In AS I looked at a radio bulletin. I used different search engine tools such as Google, and I read some books based on radio adverts. However, in A2, I'll be going to a short film festival and looking at a different search engine tools such as DuckDuckGo. And look, this is what Google has Google, they track what you search, and they only give you what you want. That's why I feel like it's best for me to use DuckDuckGo instead of Google. Here, I've looked at two films. I've looked at the genre and the narrative and representation and audience and media language of the film. The first film I looked at was Flea. I looked at the intro and the location and the speech, the media language for this film, so the cinematography shots, the establishing shots. I've talked about what they mean and the full shot and how it draws the audience into the story. I've also looked at what type of audience I feel would be suited to this film and why it's for a more mature audience. And I've also looked at the narrative of the film. The narrative of the film really tells you what the story is about. From my perspective, I feel like the story is about a heroic girl called Flea and her overcoming odds in her life, such as her aggressive stepdad, and doing it through her wits and being smart about it. The film itself is very beautiful and good, and it tells all the characters there speak in poetry, and they communicate through poetry. They don't like talk like normally. They just use spoken word, and in fact, it's really Shakespearean like, and it's very different and makes it so unique to watch and amazing to watch. So this is one of the films I did, and I also looked at representation and how certain scenes in the film represent this character, and how Flea is represented as being an underdog, as being someone who lives a tough life. And also the film also, I thought it represents also makes it kind of it makes the it the film like represents inner city kids, so urban kids living in the city. So like me, that's why I feel like I love the film and why it was so intriguing and very different. And also it's really gritty and hard hitting, like it's dramatic. That's just one of the films that I looked at. And this is another film I looked at called Ronin, and I've done the same thing like I did in Flea. And my third film called Radio, which I haven't done, is what I'll do, and I'll do exactly the same thing I did for Flea and Ronin, and look at it through genre, media language, narrative, and representation. Also, what's the other one? Audience, yeah. This is my work from Future Learn, and I looked at different, like this helped me really understand what a story is and how to tell a story through film. I looked at this guy called Louis Assuntra, but the most important person I feel which talked about media and the medium and the message in media was Stuart Hall. He spoke about encoding and decoding, which that's basically stated that different people decode things differently to how it's encoded. So if I make a film and I put a message into it, people, depending on where they're from, their culture background, their ethnicity, how they were brought up, what they do, what they watch, they decode it differently. And I looked at a film, it's called Saving Private Ryan, and it has a dominant, a neutral, and a negative reading, meaning that people decode it differently. So people might like the film people might not like the film, or they might be in the middle and have different views about the film. So people with a dominant reading might say the film would reveal a powerful and realistic tale of horrors of World War II. And a negative reader would reject this and say that this film promotes Americanization, as there's all white soldiers instigating that white people are like heroes in film. But a neutral point of view would acknowledge the emotional and American central manipulation of the audience, but they would also recognize the film's ability to communicate with the audience about this rare historical event of human adversity. Here's my research in CAT, and also this is more research in Future Learn. All this is Future Learn. And I went to a library called the Westminster Reference Library, and I looked at a book called Ultimate Filmmaker's Guide to Short Films. This book really helped me understand how to make a short film, and how you start to make a short film, and how you don't really need much to make a short film, and that there are different ways into making a short film, but obviously there'll be majority of things that you need, like, such as money and actors, obviously. And the film was very informative, as it gave me an understanding of how to what to do when making a short film. Like partly the pre-production phase, and unfortunately I couldn't take the book with me, as it was a reference book and I couldn't take it home with me. But I found it very useful, and I found that an easy way to get actors, to get production, to get sound designers, to get composers would be maybe to run a party. Like, there you meet people and you might come across a musician who wants to score your film. An example of a feature film is House Party, which was at first a short film before it became a feature film. So yeah, the stages of filmmaking: pre-production, production, post-production. Pre-production is before, both script writing, research, analyzing and understanding film. Post-production is after the whole production phase, after you've done the film, after you've got the actors, after you've done this. What we did, I said before how I'm going to, A2 is different from AS, and I went to a film festival, and a short film festival on the 17th of October, and I looked at I watched different short films, and the first film I watched was Dissonance, which was an amazing short film, and the piece, it was split into live action and animation, and it was very, very amazing. It tells the story of a psychotic street musician who lives in his fantasy world and has to face the real world. We see that he is a pianist who is mentally ill and has essentially gone mad. He always plays music outside his ex-wife's and daughter's house. The film is a drama that crosses between live action and animation in order to show the man's fantasy and what he sees around him. Here's a video which you can't watch, but it's the trailer for the film. I enjoyed this film, and here are pictures of me going to the BFI festival. This is an interview with the composer Olaf Ches, who designed the score for this amazing short film, and it was really, really good. I was very lucky to interview him, and it adds to my research into short films, into audience members, into what I need to do in my pre-production phase, and the audience. These are the people who watch short films, who make short films, who compose short films. And here's the CD cover. This is the score for the whole film, the soundtrack. Here's another film I watched, Over, which was an amazing film based on a real life true story of a man who died above South London. Sally is a French film that was shot in Istanbul. Unfortunately, we did not see the director. Here he is. Here's the main protagonist, Sally, and it's a very powerful story of a female's perspective. And it's amazing how this woman, I think it is important to have a main protagonist who is a female. This makes the story more interesting, and this film was part of The Last Woman Standing as a Man, which fits, was part of things, part of the thing in the film festival where the main protagonists were females, and I think this fits the statement that I made, having a female as being in the main role of a film and being the main focus, because we always, in films, feature films, and even short films, we always see that it's a male who is either the main protagonist, the hero, but we never get to see the female. And like Flea, like my other research, research into short films, I saw that Flea was the main protagonist, and that she's a female, and like in Flea, you don't really know. It doesn't really tell you if she's a boy or a girl, essentially. But you find out that she is a girl because the way she acts is a boy, but she's a female, which makes it so different and unique. Here's another two films I watched, and I didn't really like them, but yeah, here's another film which was also part of The Last Woman Standing as a Man, which told the different story of, which told the story of the Garden of Eden. If it was there were only women, it was very unique, very visual. Here I am there with my group, my whole class from media. Yeah, and I looked at creativity. I looked at creativity is important when researching, when even making up a story. You have to be creative. You have to tap into your creative knowledge. I watched a video from Elizabeth Gilbert, who did a speech on TED Talks called "Your Exclusive Creativity," and she explained how some people who go on the creativity are perceived by the world as being depressed and being anxious. She doesn't expect this because as a writer, dancer, or musician, you are accept this. I'm coming back in 15 minutes. Sorry. She talked about ancient Rome and Greek and how they would view creativity in a sense, and what she did essentially, and she looked at in Rome in the ancient world, the Romans would say that they would get their creativity from a genius, whereas the Greeks would get it from a daemon, and that is basically they believed that there were like spiritual beings that gave them creativity and made them creative. So this was a good method because it didn't put much stress on the human mind, and because artists, dancers, musicians, painters, they get a lot of stress from people when making a project, and like this really helped them to tap into to be creative without being stressful, essentially. Like if they believe that they got their creativity from a high power, then they would it made them not subjected to criticism. If they failed, if they didn't get a piece right, then the audiences, the people wouldn't blame them. They'd blame their daemon or their genius, which is essentially a spirit that gives them creativity. But yeah, this is just her. This inter talks. She was just talking about how this method didn't put a psychological stress on the artist, and it gave them barriers, really. Like it didn't make them feel as if they were a failure, as if they were rubbish, because it made them still go to make these stuff. And if a creative spark came, then they would say, "Oh, my genius gave me that, my daemon gave me that." But however, 1,000 years since then, like the humanity have said that we are the geniuses, like we are the centerpiece of the universe, and that I feel puts more stress on them, and it really is a bad way of getting creativity. Not a bad way, but like a stressful way. Yeah. The video is, you can see the video below here, but it's not, you can't see it. But yeah, I feel I get my creativity through my music, through what I listen to, what I read, what I hear, and mostly even what I see. even like my city, London. Like I live in London, so yeah. And yeah, this is I've done some research into knife crime, into knife crime, as I'm doing a short film on knife crime. But yeah, this is my blog so far, and I feel like I've done a lot of things, and that I can still do more. But yeah, this is what I've done so far. Thank you so much for listening.